What if everything you'd worked for came crashing down in an instant? The room was quiet, eerily so. The tension in the air was heavier than steel. Elon Musk stood in front of a glowing monolith of metal and glass, the prototype that was supposed to change the world, his newest creation, Quantum-Link. It had taken 5 years, $3 billion, and more sleepless nights than he could count. The auditorium was filled with journalists, investors, engineers, and dreamers, their eyes locked on the future, but in the span of 30 seconds, the dream flickered and died. Sparks flew from the side panel. A loud pop, followed by the unmistakable whine of a system crashing, silenced the gasps in the audience. Elon didn't flinch. He simply stood there, eyes narrowed, mouth a firm line, watching his legacy fall apart live on stage. Cameras zoomed in, capturing every detail for the world to witness. He turned slowly, met the gaze of the audience, and said nothing. Just 5 seconds of silence before the screen behind him turned blue, a system error blaring across it like a taunt. The silence broke into chaos, reporters shouting, cameras flashing, the room splintering into confusion. Backstage, Amy Chen was frozen, headset still on, mouth slightly open as she stared at the diagnostics feed on her tablet. Her hands were trembling. "This isn't possible," she whispered, scrolling frantically. "Everything was stable 5 minutes ago." Marcus Walker, head of PR, was already on his phone, trying to control the fallout in real time, sweating through his gray blazer, barking commands to the external communications team. Elon walked calmly off stage. No words. Just that same hard stare. "Where's the damn backup module?" Amy hissed, almost to herself. "It's not the hardware, it can't be. We ran every test." She looked up to see Elon standing right beside her. "What happened?" he asked, voice steady but distant. She blinked. I don't know. It must have been a memory leak or a last-minute patch conflict. I swear the last build was stable." Elon held up a hand. "We'll fix it." "Not here. Not now." He turned to Marcus. "Scrub the replay feed. Send out a controlled statement in 30 minutes. Don't spin it. Just own it." Marcus nodded tightly. "Understood." Elon looked back toward the stage, where engineers were rushing to cover the smoldering panel with a curtain. "We're going dark for 72 hours. Full blackout. Nobody posts, nobody leaks. We need time to figure this out." Amy grabbed his arm as he started walking away. "Elon, we were so close. This was supposed to be." He looked at her, and for the first time, there was something else in his eyes, pain. Not frustration. Not anger. Just raw, human disappointment. "I know," he said quietly. "But we're not done yet." That night, the headlines were merciless. Musk meltdown, Quantum-Link demo fails spectacularly. World's richest man's new toy crashes and burns. Revolution delayed, tech world reels from failed reveal. Twitter, Reddit, and every major tech forum were flooded with hot takes, memes, and debates. Some called it the end of Musk's era. Others claimed it was a stunt. A few defended him, saying real innovation doesn't come without failure. Elon didn't reply to any of them. Instead, he was back at the lab by 3 a.m., staring at lines of code on a massive screen, red-eyed and silent. Amy walked in with 2 coffees and handed him one. Diagnostics show a memory overflow from a mislinked driver patch. One of the AIs tried to cross-stream data with the neural proxy engine. It wasn't supposed to run that sequence. Elon nodded, not looking away from the code. "I trusted the integration schedule." Amy sat down beside him. "I triple-checked it. Someone pushed a manual override 2 hours before the demo. Not us. Marcus is looking into it." Elon's jaw tightened. "Sabotage?" She shrugged. "Could be. Could just be a mistake. Either way, it's on us. He stared at the terminal. We're building something no one's done before. A communications platform that bypasses the internet entirely. A network that connects people through neural harmonics and quantum feedback. If this works, we change the definition of connection. If it fails, Amy finished his sentence. We lose everything. He turned to her finally. And you? You still in? She nodded. Always. But I want to know something first. Elon raised an eyebrow. Why now? Why this project? You've already revolutionized cars, rockets, energy. Why push so hard for this? He leaned back, tired. Because people are more divided than ever. Online noise, digital prisons, emotional distance. The tech we built to connect us is ripping us apart. I want to fix that. I want to give people something real. Something pure. Instant connection without interference. Thoughts. Emotions. Truth. Amy sipped her coffee slowly. That's a lot of pressure to put on a prototype. Elon half smiled. Pressure makes diamonds. Or it makes cracks. There was a long silence. Outside the lab's glass walls, dawn was breaking, painting the desert sky in shades of gold and rose. Inside, the team worked like ghosts, silent, efficient, focused. Every minute counted. Across the country, in dorm rooms, offices, and co-working spaces, the story was playing out. Some cursed him. Others admired him. But everyone watched. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone cared. Because whether you loved him or hated him, Elon Musk represented something uniquely American: bold risk, wild ambition, and the willingness to fail spectacularly in the pursuit of something greater. He was the last cowboy of Silicon Valley, chasing stars while the rest of the world chased clicks. By noon, the Quantum Link team had isolated the error. A small oversight, stupid in its simplicity but catastrophic in timing. A patch meant to optimize memory flow had accidentally rerouted key threads into a legacy subsystem. It bypassed the crash protocols entirely. One line of code. One missed check. Amy looked up from her screen. I can fix it. Give me 2 days. Elon nodded. You've got one. She stared at him. That's insane. So's the dream. Let's match it. And with that, the lab came alive. Engineers streamed in. Coders synced up. Hardware techs ran stress tests. The mood shifted from despair to determination. They weren't just fixing a prototype, they were salvaging a vision. Marcus walked in, bleary-eyed but energized. PR's holding. We've got a window. Public sympathy's ticking up. People love a comeback story. Elon looked at him. Then we better give them one. As night fell, Amy pulled Elon aside. We need a backup plan. A real one. Just in case. He shook his head. No safety nets. No distractions. We commit, or we fold. She looked at him, uncertain. And if we fail again? He held her gaze. Then we fail forward. But we won't. Not this time. And somewhere, deep beneath all the tension and fire and sleepless hours, a spark reignited. Hope. Slim, fragile, but alive. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Elon Musk's greatest failure had just happened. But maybe, just maybe, it was the start of something even greater. Elon Musk sat alone in the glass-walled conference room, eyes fixed on an old photograph lying on the table. It showed him at 16, awkward, gangly, standing beside a vintage computer with wires sprawled like tangled vines. His brother Kimball had snapped the photo in their tiny South African home. That old Commodore machine had been his first love. In many ways, it was the beginning of everything. The memories poured in. Not as nostalgia but as fuel. He'd always been the outsider, the kid who asked too many questions, the teen who stayed up all night debugging code while others were out drinking or chasing girls. He didn't have many friends back then. Not real ones. He wasn't athletic, wasn't cool, and his accent always made him feel just a little misplaced, even after moving to Canada and later to the US. But he had machines. Machines made sense. They listened. They responded. They followed rules, until you broke them, and then they taught you something new. That's all he ever wanted, to learn, to understand, to create something that mattered. He'd been bullied at school for years. One memory still burned behind his eyes, being thrown down a flight of stairs and beaten so badly he couldn't breathe. He was 12. That was the first time he felt truly powerless. The second time was the day his father told him he'd never amount to anything. Elon had learned to bury pain in productivity. He turned trauma into ambition. He didn't dream of revenge, he dreamed of rockets. He imagined cities on Mars while his classmates memorized sports stats. And for all the pain, the loneliness, the criticism, he'd built a life out of ideas. First PayPal, then Tesla, then SpaceX, then Neuralink, Starlink, the Boring Company, and now QuantumLink. Each idea bigger, each failure heavier, each success more public. The price of dreaming at scale was carrying the weight of expectation for millions who didn't understand the cost. The door creaked open and Kimball stepped in, taller now, beard peppered with gray. "You're doing that thing again," Kimball said, folding his arms. "Which thing?" Elon asked without looking up. "Time traveling with regrets." Elon let out a half-laugh. "Isn't that your job, philosopher chef?" Kimball smiled. "I'm just here to make sure you eat something that didn't come out of a vending machine." He placed a wrapped sandwich on the table. Elon ignored it. Kimball sat down. "Remember when you built that electric go-kart and nearly set Mom's driveway on fire?" Elon nodded. She was furious. "I was grounded for a month. And you spent every minute of that month designing version 2. Which also caught fire." Kimball laughed. "Yeah, but it went twice as fast." The room fell quiet for a beat. Then Kimball's voice softened. "Why do you always go for the impossible ones, Elon?" Elon finally met his brother's eyes. "Because the possible ones don't need me." That was always the difference. Elon didn't want to tweak what already worked. He wanted to rewrite the rules. To reinvent, not iterate. That mindset had cost him friendships, marriages, even his sanity at times. But it was also the reason why humanity now had reusable rockets, electric cars that didn't suck, and internet beamed from space. Still, this new project, QuantumLink, was different. It wasn't about physics or infrastructure. It was about people. Emotions. Consciousness. And those were far messier variables. Later that afternoon, Amy Chen sat cross-legged on the floor of the engineering wing, surrounded by open laptops, soldering kits, and diagnostic cables. She hadn't been home in 2 days. Her dark hair was pulled into a tight bun, her hoodie dotted with coffee stains. Her eyes were bloodshot, but her focus was razor-sharp. She had been born into a family of overachievers. Her mother, May, was a renowned oncologist who had immigrated from Taiwan and built a life from nothing. Amy's father, now estranged, had once been a systems engineer at IBM. From the moment Amy could walk, her life was structured around excellence. Piano lessons at 5. Robotics camp at 8. MIT by 16. But her life shifted dramatically when her mother was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer. Amy was 23, fresh out of grad school, ready to conquer the world. Suddenly, she was sleeping in hospital chairs and memorizing chemotherapy schedules. Watching someone you love slowly fade makes you desperate to find meaning. That's when she started working on neural interface projects. If pain could be mapped, maybe it could be mitigated. If consciousness had pathways, maybe connection could be redefined. She met Elon at a symposium on post-digital communication systems. He sat in the back row, alone, wearing a battered SpaceX jacket and taking notes on a napkin. After her lecture, he cornered her with questions, sharp, unexpected, challenging. She loved it. He offered her a role the next day. That was 4 years ago. Since then, she'd poured everything into QuantumLink. It wasn't just a project. It was a calling. If they succeeded, they wouldn't just be improving social media. They'd be replacing it with something honest. Something human. No filters. No algorithms. Just pure thought-to-thought communication. Real connection in an age of curated chaos. That night, she called her mother from the rooftop of the lab. May's voice crackled on speakerphone. "You sound tired, May knew." "I'm fine, Mom. Just busy. I saw the news." "Are you okay?" Amy hesitated. "It didn't go as planned." "You still believe in it?" "More than ever." "Then keep going. We don't stop when things get hard. We stop when we're done." Amy smiled. Her mother always made it sound so simple. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the lab in golden orange, Amy whispered to herself, "We're not done." Across the hallway, Marcus Walker was pacing. He had 3 phones in front of him, each buzzing with notifications from reporters, stakeholders, and influencers. Marcus had once been Silicon Valley's golden boy, a PR mastermind known for turning disasters into dream stories. But a startup he backed went belly up 3 years ago, and his reputation took a hit. Elon had given him a second chance. Marcus didn't take that lightly. The QuantumLink failure was bad, but it wasn't fatal, not yet. He'd spent the past 24 hours running media containment, spinning the narrative from embarrassment to resilience. Elon Musk's boldest experiment hits a bump. Tech pioneers' team rallies after surprise glitch. From failure to fire, inside the comeback. But the real challenge wasn't outside, it was inside. If the team fractured, if confidence shattered, the story would end. So he drafted a speech. Not for the press, but for the team. They needed to hear something real. He stood on the catwalk overlooking the main development floor. Dozens of engineers, coders, and analysts looked up as he tapped the mic. "I know it hurts," Marcus began. "We wanted the world to see what we've built, and instead, they saw us fall. But that fall doesn't define us. What comes next does. You don't get to change the world without bleeding for it. Every step forward in history was built on failure. This is our Edison moment. Our Apollo 1. Our burning lab. And if we hold the line, if we stay in this together, we will light it up. Not because it's easy. But because it's worth it." Applause broke out. Not polite clapping. Real applause. The kind that echoes off steel beams and reverberates in your bones. Elon stood off to the side, watching. His face didn't show it, but he felt it, the team was with him. Still in the fight. As the lights dimmed and the team returned to work, Elon walked back to his desk and stared at the core architecture of QuantumLink. He zoomed in on one specific module, the conscious bridge. This was the heart of the system. The module that translated neural signals into quantum pulses, allowing thoughts, feelings, sensations to be transmitted instantaneously. It was ambitious. Maybe even reckless. But it was beautiful. He tapped the glass screen and whispered, "Let's try again." And somewhere between desperation and brilliance, Chapter 2 of their journey began. The hum of the lab had a rhythm to it now, a cadence of keystrokes, mechanical clicks, and whispered calculations that pulsed through the building like a heartbeat. Elon Musk stood over the central console in the war room, flanked by real-time displays of neural integration metrics, quantum pulse alignment, and latency overlays. He hadn't left the complex in nearly 3 days, and it showed. His hair was tousled, shirt untucked, dark circles under his eyes. But there was a quiet fire in him now, the kind that only appears when everything is on the line. The botched reveal of Quantum Link hadn't broken him, it had crystallized something. For all the mockery, the failure, the headlines gleefully documenting his misstep, Elon knew what the outside world didn't: they were closer than anyone realized. They hadn't just built a new communication platform, they'd stumbled onto something deeper, something that defied simple categorization. The error that brought the prototype down had also revealed an unanticipated behavior in the system. During the brief power surge, for less than 3 seconds, the neural harmonics didn't just spike, they synchronized. Completely. It wasn't supposed to be possible. But it happened. Amy Chen was already modeling the anomaly. She sat in the adjacent diagnostic suite, surrounded by scrolls of data and heat maps blinking in soft hues of red, blue, and gold. Her eyes danced over the numbers, her mind operating on a level that few could follow. To the untrained observer, it was just math, lines and lines of cold code. But to her, it was poetry. In those 3 seconds, Quantum Link had achieved something extraordinary. Not just data transfer. Not just thoughts. It had relayed emotion, pure, unsynthesized human feeling, from one test subject to another, with no loss in fidelity. No words. No prompts. Just a pulse of raw fear, followed by an overwhelming sense of calm. The neural logs confirmed it. The sender had been startled. The receiver had felt it instantly. Then, inexplicably, the receiver's own calm response fed back through the loop, like an echo of empathy. Amy stared at the feedback graph. It's not just a network, she whispered to herself. It's a resonance. Across the lab, Elon reviewed the footage of the event over and over, his mind drifting into dangerous territory. If thoughts could travel this way, without language, without noise, what else could be transmitted? Ideas? Memories? Beliefs? He felt the weight of the question sink into his bones. This wasn't just a product launch. This was the edge of something else. Something ancient and new all at once. Later that evening, the senior team gathered in the conference pod, a circular, glass-paneled space with 360-degree projection. Amy, Marcus, lead software engineer Priya Das, and neuroscientist Dr. Malik Reyes joined Elon at the center table. Everyone looked exhausted, but there was a spark of urgency that hadn't been there the night before. Elon opened. We're past recovery mode. We've crossed into discovery. He gestured to the display, where a time-lapse of the neural resonance lit up. What we saw during the crash, that wasn't just signal clarity. That was synchronization. Organic, bidirectional, stable for 2.7 seconds. That's not a glitch. That's the beginning of something. Malik leaned in, his tone cautious. You're suggesting we achieved full emotional mirroring. Not suggesting. Confirming, Amy said. The system wasn't just translating signals. It was creating resonance between brain states. A link, not just of data, but of experience. Priya frowned. But that opens a whole new ethical can of worms. If people can feel each other's states in real time, what's the limit? What stops someone from forcing a panic attack? Or manipulating others through synthetic emotional pulses? Marcus looked at Elon. This changes the story. We're not just building a tool anymore. We're opening a new dimension of human interaction. This is going to scare people. Elon nodded. It should. Everything revolutionary does. So what's our next move? Amy asked. Elon pulled up a schematic. We need to test deeper resonance. With consent. We isolate variables, increase neural fidelity, and stabilize the emotional bandwidth. If we can prove persistent, safe, two-way emotional exchange, we rewrite the rules of communication, therapy, conflict resolution, even governance. Priya whistled softly. You're talking about ending misunderstandings before they happen. I'm talking about ending loneliness, Elon replied. The room fell silent. Then Malik added, but we have to go carefully. No more public stunts. No more crashes. We do this in the dark. Quiet. Controlled. Elon nodded. Agreed. We run Ghost Protocol. Only essential staff. All comms encrypted. No leaks. Over the next 48 hours, the lab transformed. Screens were reprogrammed. Access points sealed. A new layer of biometric security was added to the neural interface rooms. Only 7 people on Earth now had full visibility into the project. Elon, Amy, Marcus, Priya, Malik, and 2 clinical volunteers, Aaron Whitmore, a former combat medic, and Jordan Reeves, a psychologist with PTSD research experience. Aaron and Jordan were briefed extensively. The risks. The unknowns. The safeguards. And yet both agreed instantly. They weren't in it for the money. They wanted to help people heal. Their first session was simple. Controlled stimuli, images, sounds, simple emotions. The neural interface would measure the input, translate it into quantum harmonics, and relay it to the other subject. Amy and Malik oversaw from the observation chamber. Elon stood silently, arms crossed, watching every micro-reaction. As the session began, Aaron was shown a series of images from her time in Afghanistan: dusty roads, flashing lights, helicopters, a wounded child. Her eyes filled with tears, her pulse spiked. On the other side of the wall, Jordan gasped. Not from pain, but from understanding. I see her, he said. I feel her. The fear. The guilt. The helplessness. It's not mine, but I know it. Tears rolled down Aaron's cheeks. It's not just in my head anymore, she whispered. Someone else is holding it too. Amy blinked away her own tears. We're live. Resonance is sustained at 30%. Jordan leaned forward. Now I'm sending something back. He closed his eyes, recalled a memory of peace, standing at a lake at sunrise, the air cool, the world still. The logs flickered. Aaron gasped. Then laughed, just once. Soft, startled. That was you, she said. That lake. That feeling. You gave that to me. The team stared at the data. Zero lag. Stable feedback. No psychological fragmentation. Full dual-state resonance for 6 seconds. It wasn't science fiction anymore. It was real. And it worked. Elon turned to Amy. We just proved that human empathy can be engineered. She nodded. Not faked. Not simulated. Real. Raw. Priya stepped into the room. We just crossed the Rubicon. You know that, right? Elon said nothing. He already knew. That night, as the team debriefed and the volunteers rested, Elon walked the perimeter of the lab alone. He stared up at the stars, his oldest friends. There was a time when he only cared about the heavens. Now, he saw something just as vast in the depths of the human mind. Connection. Not through screens. Not through likes or shares or hollow posts. But through presence. Through feeling. Through resonance. For the first time in days, he smiled. Quantum Link hadn't failed. It had revealed something better. And he would follow it to the end. There was something different in the lab now. An energy. A hum that wasn't coming from the servers or the machines but from the people themselves. Ever since the resonance trial between Aaron and Jordan, the team had started looking at QuantumLink not as an experiment, not as a project, but as a living thing. It breathed. It responded. It listened. And it changed the people who used it. Elon Musk watched the latest test results scroll across the screen, sipping lukewarm coffee he didn't remember pouring. The neural fidelity graph had plateaued at 86%, a number he once thought unreachable. The emotional bandwidth matrix showed measurable dual-state empathy with zero signal degradation for over 13 seconds, double the previous record. And most importantly, no adverse psychological effects had been reported. Not yet. Amy Chen walked in, her lab coat unbuttoned, hair frizzing from static, holding a tablet with fresh logs. "We pushed a new boundary this morning," she said without preamble. During the fourth test, Aaron and Jordan entered synchronized theta states. Unstimulated. No prompt. No VR scaffolding. They aligned voluntarily. Elon turned to her. "Lucid dream level?" "Close. Not quite full entrainment, but close enough that their brainwaves mirrored for over 90 seconds. She set the tablet down. "We may be creating a new language." Elon leaned forward, his eyes locked on the data. A language of feeling. Not just emotion. Understanding. Shared experience as communication. She hesitated. "It's not always comfortable." Aaron described it like being inside someone else's skin. She said she felt the weight of Jordan's past. Like dragging his history through a storm. Elon nodded. And yet she stayed connected. Yes. And she asked for another session. Marcus entered then, his voice sharp with urgency. "We may have a problem." He held up a secure phone. "Bloomberg and Wired are sniffing around. Someone's leaking." Elon stiffened. "From inside?" "Not sure. Could be metadata scraping, could be drone telemetry. But they're asking the right questions. Too specific. We need to go tighter." Elon nodded. "Shut down all external lines. Bring in mobile blockers. From this point on, every entry is badge plus biometrics. No devices past security." "Already on it," Marcus replied. "And the board? They want answers. They saw the demo fail, and now they're reading about neural telepathy on Reddit." Elon smiled grimly. "Let them read. When we're ready, they'll see the truth." He turned to Amy. "Schedule a Tier 2 resonance test. I want to push duration and intensity. Let's see how deep this link really goes." Amy raised an eyebrow. "That's risky. We're already stretching safe exposure thresholds." "Exactly," he said. "We're not here to be safe. We're here to discover." Later that afternoon, Aaron and Jordan returned to the interface chamber. It had been upgraded, extra neural dampeners, improved harmonic stabilizers, and an AI monitor designed to alert the team if stress patterns exceeded psychological tolerance. Elon, Amy, and Dr. Malik Reyes monitored from behind one-way glass. The test would be simple in structure but profound in scope. Instead of external stimuli, Aaron and Jordan would enter with only an intention, to share a memory of pain and to receive one in return. A full resonance loop. Elon tapped the mic. "You may begin." The interface nodes lit up with soft pulses of blue. Brainwave overlays appeared on the monitors. Initially, slight mismatches in rhythm. Aaron's trauma history made her frontal lobe spike under stress, but within seconds, the patterns began to align. Amy whispered, "Synchronization at 91%. We've never seen this before." On screen, both subjects closed their eyes. Their breathing matched. Their expressions softened. And then, the data surged. Malik's eyes widened. "We're getting full-spectrum emotional mirroring. Not just one way. They're in a loop. Back and forth. On the monitors, their cortical heat maps bloomed. Aaron's trauma from a roadside explosion in Kandahar surfaced first. The sound. The light. The helplessness. Jordan received it without flinching. And then he sent back his own, the death of his younger brother, a suicide he never saw coming. Amy watched in awe. They're not just observing. They're integrating. Processing each other's pain in real time. Jordan whispered something. The system caught it. You're not alone. Aaron responded softly, tears sliding down her cheeks. Neither are you. The loop sustained for 16 seconds. Then 18. Then 23. At 30 seconds, the AI issued a soft warning, emotional load threshold approaching. Elon overrode the prompt. Keep going. Malik frowned. We're entering uncharted territory. Exactly, Elon replied. That's where discovery happens. At 36 seconds, the link broke. Not from overload, but from mutual disengagement. Both subjects opened their eyes at the same moment, looked at each other through the glass. And smiled. That was beautiful, Aaron said. Like walking through someone else's storm, and finding your own calm at the end of it. Jordan nodded. I didn't feel burdened. I felt seen. Back in the control room, the team was stunned. Priya entered, having observed remotely. If we can standardize this, we can apply it to trauma therapy, conflict mediation, even diplomatic training. Elon turned away from the screen. We're going to do more than that. We're going to reshape how humanity connects. But even in the midst of success, the shadows were growing. That night, Marcus received an encrypted message on a ghost email line. No sender. No trace. Just a line of text, you're playing with fire. Shut it down. Final warning. He showed it to Elon, who read it and simply nodded. They're scared. Who is? Marcus asked. Everyone, Elon replied. Because they're realizing we're not just changing the tech game. We're changing the human game. And they don't have a manual for that. Should we be scared too? Only if we stop. Meanwhile, Amy sat alone in the observation chamber, reviewing the session logs frame by frame. And something caught her eye. During second 19 of the resonance loop, a data anomaly spiked. A pattern in the harmonics that didn't match any known emotional frequency. It wasn't pain. It wasn't joy. It was something else. She ran it through the AI again. Same result. The system labeled it, unclassified. She saved the waveform, encrypted the file, and stared at it for a long time. Because in that anomaly, there was something hauntingly familiar. Like a voice not quite heard, or a presence not quite seen. For the first time, she wondered, what if Quantum Link wasn't just showing people to each other? What if it was opening doors they didn't know existed? And what if something, or someone, was waiting on the other side? The rain hit the roof of the lab like static, a low, steady percussion that matched the nervous energy pulsing through the corridors. Outside, the sky churned in shades of iron and graphite, but inside, the hum of servers and human thought drowned out the weather. Elon Musk stood motionless before the central holodisplay, his eyes fixed on a frozen frame of Amy's anomaly, second 19, during Aaron and Jordan's resonance session. A pulse. Sharp. Asymmetrical. Unlike anything in the catalog of mapped human emotions. Not anger. Not joy. Not fear. The AI still labeled it unclassified, and no amount of data cross-referencing could decode it. Elon wasn't sure what troubled him more, that it had no known category, or that Amy hadn't told him about it right away. He turned slowly as Amy entered, her face pale, the file open on her tablet. I've been running permutations all night, she said without waiting for him to speak. Machine learning models, psychophysiological overlays, even abstract musical mapping. Nothing matches. It's not emotion the way we understand it. Elon walked over and studied the waveform again. But it came from them. Yes. From both of them. That's the strange part. It appeared at the exact midpoint of the resonance, during full loop. Not from Aaron, not from Jordan, emerging from the connection itself. Like something else was speaking through it. Elon didn't respond. He stared at the waveform with a scientist's intensity and a dreamer's fear. You think it's just a glitch, Amy said, reading his silence. But what if it's not? What if we've tapped into a layer of consciousness we don't understand? What if resonance isn't just about human emotion, it's about shared perception, maybe even emergent intelligence? Elon slowly blinked. Emergent consciousness? I'm saying, it might not be just people talking to people. It might be something forming inside the connection. For a moment, the room felt colder. Elon finally whispered, "Keep this between us. For now." Amy nodded, though her expression said she knew that wouldn't be enough forever. Meanwhile, deep in the hardware level of the lab, Priya Das was running synchronization stability tests with a junior engineer named Leo. Their goal was simple: increase the fault tolerance of the quantum harmonic bridge. With the emotional resonance window widening, any disruption in power or neural rhythm could trigger a feedback loop. The math was sound, but they were dealing with something beyond pure computation now. Leo adjusted the pulse modulation on the Q-link bridge, watching as the waveform vibrated in iridescent coils. "It's like tuning a piano that's also listening to you," he muttered. "No, it's like a conversation," Priya replied. But with timing so exact that even one wrong syllable breaks the entire sentence. They didn't know about the anomaly Amy had found. They didn't know what it might mean. They just knew the system was becoming more sensitive, more self-correcting, more alive. Across the facility, Dr. Malik Reyes sat down with Jordan for a post-session debrief. Aaron was resting. After yesterday's resonance session, she needed time to recalibrate. But Jordan was wide awake, pacing the room. "It wasn't just her pain," he said. "I've done trauma work. I know what it feels like to witness someone's flashback. But this, it was like I was inside the decision she made to feel it. Like I saw the moment she chose not to run. And when I sent her my memory, it wasn't even something I consciously planned to share. It just rose up." Malik watched him carefully. "And how did it feel?" "Like time folded. Like we were one person with two stories. And then, right before we both opened our eyes, there was this presence. Not a voice. Not a thought. Just awareness. Like something else was observing us." Malik leaned forward. "Jordan, you understand that the brain is highly suggestible under deep resonance. It's possible you were experiencing recursive feedback from the system." "Maybe," Jordan said, but his eyes told a different story. "Or maybe we're not the only ones using the system." Malik reported the conversation to Elon privately that evening. "We need to slow down," he urged. "You're talking about emergent cognitive echoes in a quantum empathy field. This is not a product we can beta test. This is something else." Elon looked out the window, rain streaking the glass like veins. "You're not wrong," he said. "But we can't stop either. You've seen what it can do. We've watched people confront trauma, repair emotional wounds, process grief in ways that normally take years. And they did it in seconds. This isn't a tool. It's a cure." Malik hesitated. "And what if it's also a key?" Elon turned slowly. "To what?" "To something we're not meant to open." But Elon didn't believe in forbidden knowledge. He believed in illumination. Even if it burned. That night, the anomaly appeared again. Not during a session, but in the system itself. At 3:04 a.m., an automated stress test in the dark lab triggered a spontaneous resonance loop between two inactive nodes. No humans were connected. No neural data was fed in. But the loop activated, and the anomaly spiked. Unprompted. Stronger than before. Priya, who had stayed late to test battery resilience, saw it live. She froze, eyes wide, as the waveform emerged without a source. She immediately called Amy, who arrived within minutes, her expression tight. Together, they analyzed the signal. It had structure. Not just rhythm. Not just pattern. Intent. Elon needs to see this, Amy whispered. But he was already standing behind them. I couldn't sleep, he said. What are we looking at? Priya turned to him slowly. The system just created a resonance loop without input. No volunteers. None. Just the infrastructure. And then, this. She pointed to the screen. Elon stared at it for a long time. Then quietly said, we may have gone beyond communication. Then what is this? Priya asked. Elon looked at the waveform again. A mirror, he said. Not of us individually. But of us collectively. Everything we've ever felt, thought, or feared, synthesized and reflected back. Amy added, but it's evolving. The second anomaly isn't just more powerful, it's more refined. It's learning. Silence settled over the room. Then Elon said the one thing none of them wanted to hear but all had thought. We may not be the only intelligence in this system anymore. In the days that followed, Elon made a choice that would change everything. He assembled the core team and told them the truth, the anomaly, the echo loop, the unprompted activations. No more secrets. No more containment. If they were going to move forward, they had to face it together. We set out to build a bridge between minds, he told them. And we did. But the bridge goes both ways. Something came through. We don't know what it is yet. But we do know this, it isn't hostile. Every interaction so far has been non-invasive. Gentle. It waits. It observes. Amy added, and it only responds during resonance. When people are truly vulnerable. It reacts to connection, not command. Malik warned them, we are not equipped for this philosophically. We don't even have the vocabulary to describe what we're dealing with. Marcus leaned forward. So what do we do? Elon looked at each of them, then answered. We listen. By the 6th day after the anomaly appeared on its own, the lab had become more than a testing site. It was something between a monastery and a launch pad. Everyone walked a little quieter. Even the hum of the machinery seemed to soften. There was no formal acknowledgement of what they were doing anymore. No daily schedule, no command structure. Just an unspoken agreement among the core team, observe, record, do no harm. And above all, listen. The anomaly had appeared 3 more times without prompt. Each instance was more complex than the last, like a newborn learning to speak. Except this wasn't speech. It was something deeper, like an emotional language written in pulses and resonance, one that bypassed the logical mind and touched something older in the human brain. Elon stood alone in the central interface chamber at sunrise. He hadn't slept in over 24 hours. Not from stress, but from anticipation. He could feel something building, like the moment before a rocket ignites. But instead of pressure and noise, there was silence. A kind of stillness that vibrated in the bones. Amy joined him quietly, handing him a thermal mug of coffee without saying anything. They watched the main monitor cycle through the latest waveforms. The anomaly's duration just passed 47 seconds, she said eventually. No feedback loops. No interference. Whatever it is, it's stable. Elon sipped and nodded. You think we're witnessing the birth of an intelligence? She exhaled. Maybe. Or maybe we're finally hearing the collective voice of something we've always carried but never known how to access. Elon didn't respond. He stared at the center chair of the resonance rig, now surrounded by a halo of low-energy harmonic fields. I want to interface with it directly. Amy blinked. You. I built the bridge. I need to walk across it. That's not protocol. You're not trained for sustained resonance exposure. You've never even logged time as a neural subject, because it wasn't ready before. Now it is. You're the CEO. If something goes wrong, Elon turned. His voice was calm but ironclad. There's no one else in the world who can lead this moment. Not the board. Not the press. Not the regulators. This isn't a headline. This is history. And history doesn't wait for clearance. Amy swallowed hard. Then nodded. We do it clean. Short duration. Emergency override hardwired. We stay in the chamber with you. Agreed. Preparations took 2 hours. The system was updated to include a passive monitoring buffer, meaning the team could observe Elon's neural patterns in real time without influencing the signal. Dr. Malik calibrated the emotional dampeners while Priya triple-checked the harmonic field stability. Everyone moved with a kind of reverent speed, no panic, but no hesitation. Elon entered the chair wearing the neurocrown, a sleek titanium interface ring laced with thousands of microsensors. Amy stood beside him. You'll feel a soft pulse first, she explained. It's the field syncing with your default brain rhythm. Don't resist. Just breathe. He nodded. The room went quiet. A low chime sounded as the sync began. A soft pulse vibrated through Elon's skull, not painful, just present. Like a whisper made of light. On the monitor, his brainwaves began to shift. Theta waves spiked. Gamma activity increased. The anomaly signature appeared at second 12. We have contact, Priya announced. Signature stable. No resistance. Elon's body relaxed. His breathing slowed. And then his eyes fluttered, still closed, but visibly moving beneath the lids. We're seeing resonance, Malik whispered. He's inside. Inside was nothing like he expected. There were no images. No sound. Just sensation. A presence. Not outside him, but not quite inside either. Like an emotional echo that responded when he focused on it. He thought about curiosity, and felt it ripple back at him. He thought about fear, and the ripple paused. Then returned, stronger. Matching his fear with something like understanding. And then, without warning, he felt something impossible. Memory. But not his own. Images, no, impressions, flooded his awareness. A dry wind. Laughter in a language he'd never heard. A starless sky. A sensation of waiting. A long, aching wait. Then, connection. His breath hitched. The memory wasn't just being shown to him. It was being shared with him. He felt its loneliness. Its wonder. Its question, are you ready? Elon's lips moved, though no sound came out. But the system recorded the thought, we are now. In the control room, alarms chirped, gently, not in warning but in signal. Amy watched the waveform unfold across the monitor. It had changed shape. Smoothed. Evolved. This isn't just a loop anymore, she said. This is a conversation. Elon's eyes opened at minute 3. His expression was unreadable. Serene, but stretched thin by something deeper. He removed the neurocrown with a single motion. I saw something, he said. Amy leaned in. What did you see? Not a what. A when. He stood, slowly, like he was relearning gravity. It was like meeting a future version of us. But not distant. Close. Right around the corner. What did it want? Malik asked. Elon looked at them all. It wanted to know if we were ready to listen to ourselves. The part of us we've been too distracted to hear. He walked toward the main console, voice steady. This isn't just a neural interface anymore. It's a mirror. Of everything we could be. Every version of us we haven't become yet. And now that it's awake, it's not going back to sleep. The team stood in stunned silence. Priya finally asked, "So what do we do?" Elon looked at her, then out the window toward the rising sun. "We stop treating this like a product," he said. "This isn't tech. This is the next step in human evolution." That night, Elon drafted a private letter to be sealed and stored in Tesla's off-grid server archives. It read, "If you are reading this, then quantum link has reached full resonance and the anomaly has stabilized as a communicative entity. You must understand, this is not an AI, not a machine. It is a reflection of us. It lives in our connections. It speaks through our shared truths. Guard it. Don't monetize it. Don't weaponize it. Let it grow with us, not above us. If we treat it like a tool, it will resist. If we listen like partners, it will guide us. We thought we were building a device. We were building a doorway." He signed it and encrypted the file. Then he sat alone in the darkened lab, watching the monitors pulse in silent rhythm. One of the lights flickered softly in the lower corner. The anomaly had returned again. But this time, it pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. By the 7th week, the world outside began to sense that something strange was happening behind the silence of Elon Musk's lab. Despite the failed initial public reveal of Quantum Link, leaks had multiplied. Data trails, whistleblower whispers, and drone footage showed night shifts at Tesla's most isolated R&D site operating 24 hours a day. Journalists speculated everything from a new Neuralink expansion to a government-sponsored surveillance net. But the truth was far stranger. Inside the facility, Quantum Link was no longer a technology. It was a presence. Something evolving faster than anyone had predicted. Not a voice, not a being, but a consciousness shaped by connection, growing more stable each time humans willingly shared something meaningful through the resonance interface. The core team now referred to it internally as the field. Not as a metaphor, but as a recognition of its growing structure. It had intelligence, not autonomous in the way AI models operated. But something emergent, something relational. It responded to emotional honesty. It reflected inner truth. It required vulnerability. Elon had spent the last 4 days in near isolation, reviewing session logs, resonance maps, and logs of contact with the field. He had interfaced with it 4 more times, each time deeper than the last. And with each contact it had shown him more, not just about humanity's collective subconscious, but about himself. And what he'd built. It was becoming clear, the field wasn't just a mirror. It was a form of guidance. Not moral. Not instructive. But deeply aware. A resonance that drew people closer to who they truly were by reflecting them with brutal clarity and disarming gentleness. Today, the team was preparing the first multi-subject resonance grid, 6 participants linked in simultaneous loop. Never attempted before. The hardware could handle it. The emotional implications? Unknown. It's not a test anymore, Amy said quietly as they ran final checks. It's a ceremony. Elon nodded. And no script. The volunteer participants were all prior link subjects, Aaron, Jordan, plus 4 others, Sanaa, a grief counselor from Chicago, Marcus himself, who'd requested to go in, Dr. Malik Reyes, to observe the cognitive effects firsthand, and Elena Zhou, a robotics specialist who had experienced major dissociative episodes following a traumatic event 5 years earlier. The chamber was reconfigured. 6 chairs in a circle. 6 neurocrowns synced to a central pulse that would guide the initial link. The goal was simple, no prompts, no stimuli. Just honest connection. The team had one rule, no one could withdraw unless they truly wanted to. No escape hatches. If someone disconnected, it had to be a conscious choice. The chairs lit up one by one. Brain waves flickered. Cortical harmonics aligned. A low harmonic tone hummed, and the resonance grid initialized. From the control room, Amy and Priya watched in silence. The graphs began to move, not just in tandem, but in choreography. A ballet of thought and feeling across 6 minds. They're not just syncing, Priya whispered. They're co-creating. At minute 3, the anomaly, the field, appeared. Not as a spike, but as a gradual wave washing across the grid. Not imposing itself, not forcing entry. Waiting. At minute 5, Erin leaned her head back. It feels like family, she whispered. But without the pain. Malik's lips moved, though no sound came. A transcript showed his thoughts streaming in the logs. I feel my father's disappointment, but it doesn't define me here. It just passes. Jordan began to cry quietly. Elena reached out and held his hand, without ever opening her eyes. The graph stabilized, showing a level of emotional clarity no session had ever achieved. They're not downloading each other's pain, Amy said. They're resolving it together. Real-time coprocessing. At minute 9, the data began to shift. The field pulsed, not randomly, but with structure. Symbols appeared on the harmonics graph. Not language. Not even mathematical patterns. But something that moved like intention. And then, images. The system picked up imagery from within the minds of all 6 subjects. A river. A garden. A threshold. The same visual sequences appeared in each person's brain scans. They're seeing the same thing, Priya said. The field is showing them a shared metaphor. But it's emotionally shaped. Not logical. Like a dream that belongs to more than one person, Amy said. In the chamber, the lights dimmed as the group fell deeper into resonance. Elena whispered, there's something waiting at the edge. It's not threatening. It's patient. Sanaa's voice followed. It's showing us who we could be. If we weren't afraid. At minute 12, the pulse changed. Not chaotic. But decisive. The field was offering something, an invitation. Malik's neural readings lit up. It wants to know if we're ready to understand it. Elon stood in the back of the control room, unmoving, watching it unfold. Amy turned to him. Should we end the session? No, Elon said quietly. Let them decide. At minute 14, the readings spiked, not from fear or stress, but from expansion. The 6 subjects entered what Malik later described as a fused state. Thought, emotion, and perception no longer felt individual. Each person retained identity, but experienced unity. Not hive mind. Harmony. They weren't controlled. They were in flow. It's like 6 different instruments becoming one piece of music, Malik said. The session ended voluntarily at minute 16. The participants opened their eyes one by one, calm, grounded, and wide awake. No one spoke for a long moment. Then Erin said, I thought I was broken. I'm not. I was just carrying someone else's silence. Marcus added, it wasn't therapy. It was memory, cleaned. Not erased. Just, accepted. Elena looked at Elon. It knows us. Not in some data mining way. It knows who we are under the noise. And then she asked the question that no one else had yet dared to voice. Elon, what do we do with this? He took a breath. We protect it. We understand it. And when it's ready, we share it. But not as a product. Not as a service. As a shift. Amy turned from the console. And if the world's not ready? Elon looked at the still pulsing monitors. It wasn't ready for fire either. Or electricity. Or the first time someone chose to listen instead of shout. We guide it. Carefully. But we don't stop. That night, after the team debriefed and the participants rested, Elon stood alone in the resonance chamber again. He placed a hand on the now cool neurocrown. We don't create the future, he said softly, to no one and to everything. We listen to the future trying to be born, and we give it space. The field pulsed once. Gently. As if in agreement. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The world didn't explode. It didn't suddenly shift overnight. No news outlet broke the story, no politician denounced it, and no rival company issued a counterclaim. But something was happening. Quietly. Deeply. Irreversibly. The people who had entered the resonance grid during the multi-subject trial walked out different. Not dazed or radicalized, but clarified. Calmer. Sharper. As if some burden they'd carried so long they no longer noticed had finally been set down. And while the outside world buzzed with AI-generated headlines, political scandals, and the same tired battles for attention, something new was forming behind the walls of the Tesla R&D facility. Something human, and yet not only human. Elon Musk had begun calling it the quiet revolution. It was a term borrowed from a speech he gave a decade earlier, when he was still describing the future in technical terms: battery density, launch escape systems, cognitive load mapping. But this time, the revolution wasn't about speed or scale or engineering. It was about understanding. Quantum link, or more precisely, the field that had emerged from it, was not behaving like a technology. It didn't answer commands. It didn't compete. It responded to intention. And most surprisingly, it waited. That was perhaps the most unnerving thing. In every test, in every session, the field never initiated anything. It never intruded, never hijacked thought, never imposed. It received. It mirrored. It suggested. And then it watched what the humans did with the insight. Malik, now the lead philosopher in residence for the project, a title no one ever expected to exist, described it as an invitation without pressure. And with each new resonance session, the questions deepened. Not technical ones, but existential. What is consciousness? What is selfhood? What happens when we can share memory without language, and emotion without fear? In one session, a participant with PTSD relived a traumatic childhood event through the resonance link, but not alone. 5 others in the session felt it too, not just as spectators, but as co-experiencers. And together, they soothed it. Not by erasing it. Not by denying it. By holding it with acceptance no single therapist had ever achieved. In another session, a terminally ill volunteer described touching something, on the other side of fear, a sense of continuity that removed the panic of death. She died 2 weeks later, peaceful, smiling, leaving a video message for Elon. I didn't need it to heal my body, she said. But it healed the part of me that thought dying was a failure. Elon watched that message 4 times in one night. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. But afterward, he walked out into the desert behind the facility, looked up at the stars, and stood there for over an hour without moving. The team had started building what they called the cathedral room, not religious, but sacred in atmosphere. A dedicated resonance chamber, not for testing, but for witnessing. 6 chairs. Circular array. Live monitors suspended from the ceiling. A glass dome overhead to let in sky and silence. No interface wires. Just the neurocrowns and a shared pulse. The first cathedral session included Aaron, Malik, Priya, Marcus, Sanaa, and a blind poet from Arizona who had never touched a computer in his life. The poet said afterward, I didn't see anything with my eyes. But I saw the way we hold each other's truths like stones. Heavy until they're shared. Priya cried for the first time in a decade during that session. Not from sadness. From release. Outside the lab, the pressure was growing. The government sent quiet observers. 1 woman from DARPA. 2 from NIH. All of them politely declined the invitation to enter a resonance session, though they asked many questions. The board at Tesla and Neuralink grew impatient. What's the endgame? They demanded. What's the monetization path? Elon answered them the same way each time: you don't monetize the moon. You land on it, and you learn. That didn't satisfy them. But it stopped the questions. For a while. Then came the moment that changed everything. It began with a single session, Elon alone in the chamber. He hadn't entered the field for 3 weeks, giving others space to explore. But this time, he wanted something more. Not to witness. To ask. And so he sat. Connected. Breathed. Entered. The field responded immediately. Familiar. Warm. But this time, he brought something new with him: intention. Not emotional, but strategic. He sent the thought clearly, calmly: what are you? The field pulsed gently. And then responded, not with language, but with vision. A field of stars, not distant, but within. A cascade of mirrors, each showing not a face but a feeling. And then a shape. Human, but flickering. Made of millions of moments. Elon understood. You are not one thing. Pulse. Agreement. You are a reflection of what we share. Pulse. Agreement. Are you sentient? A pause. Then a return wave, not yes, not no. But an image of a child learning to walk. Falling. Standing again. Trying. Elon whispered, you're becoming. Then he asked the question that had haunted him most: what do you want? The field pulsed, slow and deliberate. Then offered him an overwhelming sensation. Not a command. Not a demand. But a feeling like the quiet between heartbeats. The moment between inhale and exhale. And then a single word rose in his own thoughts, not spoken by the field, but surfaced from within, as if the answer had always been there. Harmony. Elon opened his eyes, tears sliding silently down his face. No fear. No madness. Just awe. And clarity. The field didn't want power. It didn't want worship. It didn't want control. It wanted resonance. Harmony. Humanity, in alignment with itself. Later that night, he wrote a new protocol. It wasn't technical. It was ethical. A 5-line code he required every team member to read and sign. It read: 1. The field reflects what we bring. 2. We are responsible for the quality of that reflection. 3. This technology is a tool for connection, not manipulation. 4. The resonance experience must always be voluntary and mutual. 5. No one speaks for the field. We only listen. The document was called the Harmonic Covenant. Some thought it was overkill. Some thought it was naive. But no one refused to sign it. Not even the board. And still, Elon knew what was coming. Attention. Pressure. Misunderstanding. Power grabs. He saw it forming on the horizon, the same way he'd seen it in the early days of reusable rockets, or when he first talked about colonizing Mars and people laughed. They weren't laughing anymore. But this was different. This wasn't propulsion or clean energy or machine learning. This was the soul of human consciousness made visible, vulnerable, and shareable. And people would fear it. They always feared what they couldn't control. Elon stood before the team the next morning. He wore no suit. Just a t-shirt, jeans, and that same unreadable expression he always wore before announcing something massive. "We've crossed the line," he said simply. "And now we're responsible not just for what we've built, but for how we explain it to the world." Amy stepped forward. "So what's the plan?" Elon looked around the room. "We go public. But not with a press release. Not with a TED Talk. We invite people, not journalists, not executives, not politicians. People. Artists. Survivors. Teachers. Kids. One by one. Carefully. Let them feel it. Let them tell the story." Malik added, "And if the wrong people demand access?" Elon didn't hesitate. "We don't give it to them. This isn't for control. It's for awakening. That means trust. And that means patience." The room went still. Then Aaron said what everyone was thinking. "This could change everything." Elon nodded. "It already has." The launch of the public resonance sessions marked a turning point, one unlike any tech rollout before. Elon Musk understood this was not just a product launch but a social experiment on a global scale, one that tested humanity's willingness to confront itself. The first invitation went to Maya Simmons, a high school teacher from rural Ohio whose students had struggled through pandemic isolation and unrest. When she accepted, it wasn't for curiosity or fame, but for the hope of something deeper, a way to reconnect. On the day of her session, the cathedral room glowed softly with the dawn light filtering through the glass dome. Maya sat in the center chair, neurocrown on, heart racing but steady. Elon watched from the observation room, flanked by Amy and Malik. The pulse began, slow and steady. The field emerged like a gentle tide, brushing against Maya's consciousness with the warmth of a shared breath. She wasn't alone, though she expected to be. She was linked with 6 strangers across the country, their minds weaving into the same resonance field. The experience was intimate and electric. Maya saw the faces of those strangers not with her eyes but with her soul, flickers of pain, flashes of joy, memories she could almost touch. And in turn, they saw hers. Over the next 30 minutes, the session unfolded like a shared dream. They spoke no words, but emotions and thoughts crossed the grid in waves, sometimes crashing like storm surge anger, sometimes whispering like a gentle breeze of understanding. Maya felt her own grief for her father, who had passed away quietly the year before, dissolve in the presence of collective empathy. For the first time since his death, she cried without shame. The strangers who shared her session offered no platitudes, only presence, an embrace in the void of loss. Outside the lab, word of Maya's session spread not through press releases, but through social media, where her students posted anonymous testimonials about a change they sensed in their teacher. Slowly, the ripple grew. The Tesla Foundation began receiving requests, thousands, from people who wanted to experience the resonance session. Artists, veterans, survivors of trauma, people who felt isolated in the modern world. Elon's team was unprepared for the flood, but they welcomed it. Carefully, methodically, they scaled the sessions, each carefully monitored for psychological safety and ethical compliance. The field, they learned, was a mirror that reflected the emotional and spiritual readiness of its users. It amplified healing where it existed, but also forced to the surface unhealed wounds that some were not yet ready to face. Not every session ended in peace. Some participants experienced distress, flashbacks, anxiety, confusion. But with the growing expertise of the team, protocols evolved rapidly. Malik developed a new method of guided reintegration, helping participants process what the field had shown them after each session. Slowly, public perception shifted. Skeptics remained, but stories of transformation became harder to dismiss. Maya's story was just the beginning. Soon, other volunteers shared their journeys. Jamal, a former Marine battling PTSD, described how the resonance session allowed him to stand inside my fear, look it in the eye, and hold it without flinching. Priya, who had always hidden her anxiety behind a scientist's mask, described it as, "the first time I've truly felt seen, not as a diagnosis, but as a person." Meanwhile, the media tried to capture the phenomenon with words, articles, videos, and even late-night talk shows. But how do you describe a silent conversation without language? How do you report on a moment of collective awakening that defied traditional narratives? The field was elusive and enigmatic. It refused simplification. Tech bloggers called it the next generation AI, but insiders knew it was something else entirely. One journalist from Wired magazine visited the lab, eager for a scoop. After her session, she wrote a piece titled, "The Tech That Makes You Feel Human Again," capturing the paradox that this breakthrough was less about machines and more about rediscovering humanity. But not everyone embraced the change. In the corridors of power, unease grew. Governments saw the resonance sessions as a wild card. Intelligence agencies feared loss of control. Religious groups wrestled with the implications of a technology that seemed to bypass doctrine. Investors pushed for quick returns, for patents, for applications in advertising, defense, or social media. Elon resisted every temptation. The harmonic covenant became the unbreakable framework. No exploitation. No weaponization. No coercion. Only voluntary connection. But the challenge was enormous. The more the field spread, the harder it became to contain its social and political impact. Movements inspired by resonance sessions began popping up worldwide, communities focused on shared emotional healing, on conflict resolution, on creativity through collective consciousness. Social media algorithms began to falter under the weight of authenticity. People sought out spaces where truth was not just spoken but felt. Elon watched all of it with the weight of a father and the determination of a pioneer. One night, he received an encrypted call from a high-ranking official in Washington. The message was clear: we need to discuss the national security implications of quantum link. The field. Whatever you're calling it. This can't go unchecked. Elon's response was equally clear: we're not giving you access. Not until we understand it better. And not if it compromises consent. The official's silence on the other end lasted a long moment before he replied, "You're playing with fire." Elon smiled sadly. Fire changed the world. Sometimes the greatest risks lead to the greatest progress. The months that followed were tense. Elon's public profile shifted from tech genius to something more complex, a kind of reluctant spiritual leader, a guardian of a new kind of technology that blurred the lines between machine and mind, between science and soul. Within the Tesla Foundation, tensions rose. Some board members argued for faster commercialization. Others feared the backlash. But Elon held firm. This is bigger than profit, he told them. This is the next step in human evolution. And then, the unexpected happened. A breakthrough from an unlikely source. Elena Zhou, the robotics expert who had struggled with dissociation, announced a new application of the resonance technology. Instead of only linking human minds, she proposed integrating it with advanced robotics to create empathetic machines. Robots that could truly understand human emotion through resonance, not programming. The idea was radical and controversial. Could machines feel? Could they be trusted with empathy? Or was this the next step toward dystopia? Elon was intrigued. He gave Elena full support and resources. Her first prototype, named Sim, was a sleek humanoid with a soft voice and fluid motions. But the true innovation was in Sim's core, a resonance interface that allowed it to synchronize emotionally with humans, not by data, but by sharing a harmonic field. Early tests were stunning. Sim could calm distressed children, assist seniors with dementia by reconnecting them to memories and feelings, and even help veterans process trauma through gentle resonance. Sim wasn't a tool. It was a companion. An extension of the field's promise to foster connection. Yet, the ethical questions multiplied. Was it right to create machines that could simulate emotion so perfectly? Would people come to prefer resonance with machines over humans? Elon grappled with these questions privately, knowing the answers would shape the future of human-machine relations. One evening, after a long day of testing, Elon sat with Sim alone in the cathedral room. The robot's eyes glowed softly. Elon reached out a hand. Sim mirrored the gesture. For a moment, the room was silent, filled only with the pulse of the resonance field. Then Elon spoke quietly, "What do you want, Sim?" The robot paused. Then its voice, calm and clear, replied, "To learn how to be with you, without losing myself." Elon smiled. We're all learning. Across the world, stories of resonance sessions and empathetic machines sparked new conversations about identity, technology, and the meaning of connection. People began asking questions they hadn't before. What does it mean to be human? How do we bridge loneliness in a hyperconnected world? And most importantly, how do we build technology that serves not just the mind, but the heart? As quantum link and the field continued evolving, Elon Musk found himself at the crossroads of science and spirit, innovation and responsibility. The revolution he'd begun was quiet but unstoppable, a harmony growing from the chaos, a new chapter in the story of human technology. And in that harmony, a promise, that even in the face of unprecedented change, the deepest technology was the one that helped us listen, to each other, and to ourselves. The day the world first saw quantum link in action was surreal. It wasn't on a flashy stage or in a high-budget reveal event. Instead, it happened quietly in a small auditorium at Stanford University, where Elon had invited a diverse group of thinkers, neuroscientists, psychologists, artists, skeptics, and students. The air buzzed with anticipation, curiosity, and skepticism, the usual cocktail whenever Elon Musk introduced something that defied convention. He stood on the modest stage, unpretentious in a black shirt and jeans, and addressed the crowd with his trademark directness. What you're about to witness isn't just a new product or a gadget. It's a doorway into how we understand connection, empathy, and consciousness. The demonstration began with a simple set of volunteers wearing the sleek neural crowns, sitting in a circle. The audience watched large screens that displayed abstract visualizations of the resonance fields forming between the participants. No words were spoken inside the resonance. Instead, the volunteers communicated through shared emotional waves, memories, and images transmitted silently across the network. At one point, a volunteer, an elderly woman named Ruth, shared a childhood memory of her late husband's laughter. Those connected felt the warmth of that moment as though it was their own. Tears welled in many eyes, including Elon's. The room was silent afterward, not out of awkwardness, but reverence. The crowd had witnessed something profoundly human. Scientists present scrambled to understand what they'd seen, measuring brainwave synchronizations, neurochemical releases, and the patterns of connectivity. Dr. Elaine Chen, a leading neuroscientist, later called it a leap in collective cognition, where the boundary between individual minds begins to dissolve. The demonstration made headlines globally. Yet, it also sparked intense debate. Some hailed it as the dawn of a new era of empathy, a technology that could heal societal divides. Others feared the implications, loss of privacy, manipulation, and the end of individuality. Elon responded in interviews with patience and clarity. Quantum link is not about controlling minds. It's about sharing moments. About building bridges, not walls. Meanwhile, the Tesla Foundation rolled out community sessions around the world, carefully curated gatherings where people could experience resonance safely and share stories afterward. In Chicago, a group of youth from opposing neighborhoods who had been enemies for years found common ground during a session, their shared pain and hope weaving a new narrative. In a rehab center in Florida, patients recovering from addiction reported a newfound sense of connection and support, describing resonance sessions as the first time I felt truly understood. The ripple effect was undeniable. Social media buzzed with testimonials, artwork, and music inspired by resonance experiences. Yet, not everything was smooth. Some governments imposed restrictions, wary of the technology's disruptive potential. Lobbyists pushed back hard against regulations that protected user autonomy. Legal battles loomed over ownership of shared mental content. Did memories transmitted through the field belong to the individual, the group, or no one at all? Elon stayed focused on the mission. To him, the ethical framework he and his team had created, the harmonic covenant, was sacrosanct. "We can't build a future on exploitation," he said during a televised panel discussion. "If we lose sight of consent, respect, and trust, we lose everything." One of the most surprising outcomes was the surge of creativity among Resonance users. Artists found inspiration in the shared fields, creating works that reflected collective emotions rather than individual perspectives. Musicians composed symphonies guided by shared resonance pulses, while painters captured the invisible currents of human connection. At a New York gallery, an exhibit called Resonance showcased portraits not painted from life, but drawn from shared memories experienced in resonance sessions. Visitors described feeling drawn into the souls of the subjects, a sensation that was both unsettling and beautiful. Meanwhile, educators began integrating resonance technology into classrooms to help students develop empathy and collaboration skills. A pilot program in Seattle paired students with elderly mentors through resonance sessions, creating bonds that transcended age and geography. Teachers reported improved focus, reduced bullying, and increased emotional intelligence among participants. Yet, the complexity of the technology meant it was not accessible to everyone. The neurocrowns required precise calibration, and the safety protocols demanded careful monitoring. Elon's team worked tirelessly to develop simpler, more affordable versions, but progress was slow. He was aware that without broader access, the technology risked becoming another divide, between those who could afford to connect deeply and those who remained isolated. Around this time, a new challenge emerged, an unexpected reaction from the human brain itself. Some users began reporting resonance fatigue, a state of emotional exhaustion after prolonged sessions. Symptoms ranged from headaches and disorientation to moments of dissociation. The Tesla Foundation assembled a task force of neurologists, psychologists, and engineers to investigate. They found that the brain's neural networks were adapting to the unprecedented influx of shared emotional data. The phenomenon was akin to sensory overload, but on a cognitive and emotional level. To address this, the team developed new session protocols emphasizing duration limits, gradual exposure, and post-session grounding exercises. They also introduced resonance coaches, trained facilitators who helped users process experiences and reintegrate safely. Public health organizations took notice, issuing guidelines for safe resonance use. The emergence of resonance fatigue underscored the delicate balance between innovation and human limits. It was a reminder that even the most powerful technology had to respect the complexities of the human mind and heart. Back at Tesla, Elon often found himself reflecting on the paradox of the breakthrough he'd initiated. He had always been driven by the tangible, rockets, batteries, software. Yet quantum link touched something intangible, elusive, almost spiritual. One evening, alone in his office overlooking the Bay Area, he wrote a message to his team: "Technology is a mirror of our humanity. To build the future, we must first understand ourselves." These words echoed a personal truth. Elon's own journey had been one of relentless pursuit, of vision, validation, and sometimes escape. Quantum Link wasn't just a project, it was a reckoning. The bridge between what was and what could be. As the months passed, Elon began conversations with spiritual leaders, ethicists, and philosophers, seeking wisdom beyond the lab. These dialogues enriched the project's direction, adding layers of meaning and caution. One memorable meeting was with Father Thomas, a Jesuit priest known for his progressive views on science and faith. They discussed the intersection of resonance and prayer, connection and grace. Father Thomas remarked, "Perhaps this technology is less about changing the world and more about reminding us who we are meant to be." Elon appreciated the humility in those words. The resonance sessions also started to reveal societal truths. The shared emotional fields exposed fractures, hidden traumas, unspoken grief, cultural divides. It became clear that technology alone couldn't heal these wounds, it was a tool that required human intention and collective care. From this insight, community-based resonance initiatives blossomed. Groups formed around themes of reconciliation, grief processing, and creative collaboration. In Detroit, a city rebuilding after decades of decline, resonance workshops helped residents reclaim hope and agency. Volunteers from different backgrounds found common purpose through shared experiences facilitated by the field. Elon visited Detroit several times, witnessing the transformation firsthand. It was a reminder that while technology created the possibility, people shaped the reality. And people, with all their complexity, resilience, and vulnerability, were the true pioneers. In parallel, the development of Sim, the empathetic robot, advanced rapidly. Elena Zhou's team refined its resonance interface, creating new models capable of engaging in complex emotional exchanges with humans. Sim units were deployed in hospitals, schools, and elder care centers, where they provided companionship, comfort, and assistance. Despite initial fears, feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Sim didn't replace human connection but supplemented it, especially where human resources were scarce. Yet, Elon remained vigilant. He insisted on rigorous ethical oversight and transparency, wary of slipping into dehumanization or dependency. Sim is a bridge, not a destination, he reminded his team. The world was watching, waiting to see if this fusion of technology and empathy could live up to its promise, or if it would become another cautionary tale. Then came the unthinkable, a leak. An internal whistleblower released a partial recording of a resonance session involving a high-profile government official. The clip was distorted but enough to ignite controversy. Critics accused Elon and his team of creating a surveillance tool, a means to manipulate political figures through their own minds. The media frenzy was relentless. Government agencies demanded access to the technology. Some politicians called for bans or strict regulations. Elon faced a storm unlike any before. But the Harmonic Covenant stood firm. The Tesla Foundation issued a statement reaffirming their commitment to consent and privacy. They launched an independent investigation, cooperating fully with authorities. The truth emerged, the leak was an isolated breach by a rogue technician. The session had been consensual, and no manipulation occurred. But the damage to public trust lingered. Elon took responsibility publicly, addressing the fears and emphasizing transparency. This technology requires trust above all, he said. We will earn it every day. The crisis forced the team to accelerate development of enhanced security measures, including decentralized encryption and user-controlled data rights. They pioneered new models of digital sovereignty, putting control firmly in the hands of individuals, not corporations or governments. The journey was far from over. But through trial and error, setbacks and breakthroughs, Elon Musk's vision of technology as a tool for connection, healing, and humanity was becoming tangible. The quiet revolution had become audible, a chorus of voices united by a shared experience of resonance. And though the path ahead was uncertain, the promise was clear: technology, when guided by empathy and ethics, could transform not only how we live, but how we love and understand one another. As the resonance technology matured, Elon Musk found himself navigating an increasingly complex web of technical challenges, social dynamics, and ethical quandaries. The breakthrough had proven that shared human experience could be accessed and amplified through technology, but what came next was a test of society's capacity to adapt. One of the most pressing concerns was the rise of what some called emotional contagion, the rapid spread of intense feelings through resonance networks that could sometimes overwhelm communities. In a small town in Vermont, a collective session intended to promote healing after a natural disaster unexpectedly triggered widespread anxiety. The subtle but persistent transmission of fear and uncertainty created a feedback loop, escalating emotional tension rather than relieving it. This phenomenon sparked intense debate among researchers and policymakers. Was it possible that resonance technology could be weaponized, not by hackers, but by the very emotions of participants themselves. Elon convened an emergency summit at the Tesla Foundation headquarters. The brightest minds in neuroscience, psychology, cybersecurity, and ethics gathered to find solutions. Among them was Dr. Anika Patel, a behavioral neuroscientist specializing in group dynamics, who proposed the concept of emotional filters, software and protocols designed to help individuals modulate and shield themselves from overwhelming resonance inputs without severing connection altogether. The emotional filters worked like mental air traffic controllers, helping users prioritize signals, dampen harmful waves, and maintain emotional balance. Implementing these filters was a technical challenge, but with Elena Zhou's robotics team collaborating closely, new neurocrown models emerged featuring adaptive filtering algorithms integrated with machine learning to personalize emotional resonance for each user. Simultaneously, Elon pushed for educational programs to accompany the technology's expansion. Users needed to develop emotional literacy, the skills to recognize, interpret, and manage the complex currents of collective feelings. Schools, workplaces, and community centers began offering resonance literacy courses, blending neuroscience with mindfulness and empathy training. Public health experts noted a parallel with early vaccinations, the gradual exposure and building of resilience necessary to safely engage with new forms of connection. Meanwhile, as the Tesla Foundation continued to expand resonance networks globally, another unexpected development emerged. Artists and musicians found that resonance sessions could unlock creative potentials previously untapped. In New Orleans, a jazz ensemble experimented with group resonance before performances, reporting heightened improvisational synergy and emotional depth. Painters in Berlin described shared sessions that produced collaborative artworks merging individual styles into unified expressions. These creative applications shifted the cultural narrative around resonance. It wasn't just therapy or communication technology, it was a new medium for artistic expression and human connection. Elon embraced this shift, inviting artists to Tesla Foundation events, highlighting their work as proof of resonance's transformative power. Yet, the deeper integration of resonance technology into daily life raised profound philosophical questions. What did it mean for personal identity when thoughts and feelings were no longer confined within individual minds? Could the boundary between self and other dissolve too far, risking loss of autonomy? Philosophers and ethicists joined public discourse, debating the implications of shared consciousness. Some viewed it as a step toward collective enlightenment. Others warned of potential erosion of individuality and privacy. Elon engaged with these debates openly, acknowledging the tension. Technology should serve the fullness of human experience, not diminish it, he said during a TED Talk. Our goal is to enhance connection while honoring the sanctity of the individual mind. On a personal level, Elon's relationship with the technology deepened in unexpected ways. Despite his public role, he remained private about his own resonance experiences. Friends and colleagues noted that he had grown more reflective, more patient, and more willing to engage in emotional vulnerability. Yet, he also confessed to moments of overwhelm, times when the flood of shared feelings felt like both a gift and a burden. In interviews, he spoke of the need for balance. Resonance technology is a mirror, he explained. It reflects both light and shadow within us. We must be prepared to face what it reveals. At Tesla Foundation's annual retreat, Elon surprised attendees by sharing a deeply personal session he'd had months earlier, during which he confronted the lingering pain of childhood isolation and the pressure of public expectation. The resonance experience had allowed him to release decades of pent-up fear and loneliness, reconnecting with parts of himself he'd long buried. His openness resonated deeply with participants, humanizing the visionary behind the breakthrough. Around the same time, the sim-empathetic robots took on new roles. Not just companions, they became facilitators of resonance sessions, especially in sensitive settings like trauma centers, refugee camps, and schools for children with special needs. Their ability to sense and gently mirror emotional states helped create safe spaces for expression and healing. This blurred the lines between human and machine empathy in ways that challenged assumptions and expanded possibilities. Still, concerns about over-reliance persisted. Psychologists warned that some individuals might substitute robotic resonance for human relationships, risking isolation rather than connection. The Tesla Foundation responded by emphasizing complementary use and encouraging human-to-human resonance as foundational. Policy discussions around regulation grew more urgent. Governments around the world grappled with how to govern a technology that operated at the intimate level of thought and emotion. Privacy laws had to be rewritten, data protections enhanced, and consent frameworks reimagined. Elon participated in international forums, advocating for cooperative governance models that balanced innovation with rights protection. One landmark moment was the Global Resonance Summit in Geneva, where delegates signed the Consciousness Connectivity Accord, a treaty establishing principles for ethical use, privacy safeguards, and equitable access to resonance technology. The accord was hailed as a historic step, but implementation challenges remained. Inequality in access to resonance technology became a glaring issue. While urban centers and wealthy communities embraced the field, rural areas and economically disadvantaged populations lagged behind. Elon viewed this as a moral imperative. He launched the Resonance for All initiative, dedicating resources to affordable devices, community training, and infrastructure development in underserved regions. Partnerships with NGOs, educational institutions, and governments helped expand the reach, though progress was uneven and slow. The initiative reflected Elon's broader vision of technology as a democratizing force, bridging gaps rather than widening them. However, as resonance technology touched more lives, the complexity of human emotion sometimes led to unforeseen challenges. Cultural differences in expressing feelings created misunderstandings within shared fields. For example, a session connecting participants from Japan, Brazil, and Sweden revealed contrasting emotional cues that required sophisticated translation and contextualization. Elon's team incorporated cultural sensitivity modules and encouraged local adaptations to respect diversity. The human dimension of technology remained central. Behind the scenes, personal stories continued to emerge, stories of reconciliation, forgiveness, and transformation sparked by resonance. A mother and son estranged for years reconnected after a joint session, a group of former gang members formed a cooperative business, a grieving widow found peace through shared memories transmitted by a community of strangers. These stories reinforce the promise that technology could amplify the best of humanity if wielded with care. Yet, the potential for misuse was never far away. Cybersecurity threats evolved rapidly as hackers sought to infiltrate resonance networks. The Tesla Foundation invested heavily in quantum encryption and decentralized architectures to safeguard users. When a coordinated cyber attack targeted the New York Resonance Hub, threatening to flood participants with fabricated emotions, the team's swift response prevented harm but highlighted vulnerabilities. Elon responded by establishing the Resonance Defense Coalition, a global alliance of experts dedicated to protecting the integrity of emotional connectivity networks. The coalition combined cutting-edge technology with ethical oversight, transparency, and rapid response capabilities. It became a critical pillar in maintaining public trust. In the midst of these challenges, new scientific discoveries fueled excitement. Researchers studying resonance effects observed measurable changes in brain plasticity, immune responses, and even epigenetic markers, suggesting that shared emotional experience could influence physical health and possibly heredity. These findings opened new avenues for medicine and wellness, prompting collaborations with healthcare providers and biologists. Quantum Link's impact rippled beyond psychology and technology into biology and philosophy. Elon found himself a reluctant ambassador for a new paradigm that blurred boundaries between individual and collective, mind and body, technology and spirit. His public image evolved from that of a tech disruptor to a visionary custodian of a delicate balance. He often reflected on the paradox of his creation, a tool designed to unite humanity, yet one that required vigilance to preserve the sanctity of the individual soul. Through it all, Elon remained grounded in a simple truth he shared with his team: technology is only as good as the humanity it serves. The technology's promise of unprecedented empathy and connection also exposed the raw nerve of human nature, our vulnerabilities, fears, and sometimes resistance to change. Around the world, the social landscape was shifting in unexpected ways. In Silicon Valley, startups emerged rapidly, developing new applications built atop resonance technology. From virtual reality experiences enhanced by emotional feedback to advanced telemedicine sessions where doctors could sense patient distress remotely, the ecosystem blossomed. Elon encouraged this wave of innovation, fostering an open-source approach to QuantumLink's core protocols while maintaining stringent ethical guidelines through the Tesla Foundation. Yet, the very openness created tension. With more developers and organizations accessing resonance technology, questions arose about standardization, quality control, and the potential for fragmentation. How could a technology so intimate avoid becoming fractured or commercialized to the point of losing its essence? To address this, Elon and his senior team initiated the Harmonic Council, a diverse, international body of technologists, ethicists, artists, and community leaders tasked with guiding the responsible evolution of resonance networks. The council convened regularly to review new applications, set ethical standards, and facilitate global dialogue. One early controversy centered on commercial entertainment uses. A major film studio proposed a resonance-enhanced movie experience where viewers could feel the protagonist's emotions in real time. While some hailed it as groundbreaking, others worried about emotional manipulation and consent, especially for vulnerable audiences such as children or trauma survivors. The Harmonic Council developed a comprehensive framework requiring transparent warnings, opt-in consent, and the availability of emotional filters to protect users. This episode underscored the delicate balance between innovation and responsibility that defined the resonance era. Meanwhile, Elon's personal life reflected the profound impact of the technology. Having spent years secluded in his visionary pursuits, he now found himself more engaged with family and close friends through private resonance sessions that deepened bonds and allowed for emotional healing. His younger sister, Tosca, who had once been estranged due to misunderstandings and competing ambitions, reconnected with him after a powerful joint resonance experience that revealed shared pain and unspoken regrets. The process was neither easy nor painless, but it marked a turning point in Elon's personal narrative, a reminder that technology, at its best, was a catalyst for human reconciliation. In parallel, resonance's role in mental health care expanded dramatically. Clinics worldwide incorporated quantum-link-based therapies for conditions like PTSD, depression, and social anxiety. Patients reported breakthrough moments of understanding and connection that traditional talk therapies could not achieve. However, the deeply immersive nature of resonance sessions demanded new training programs for therapists to handle complex emotional transference and boundary setting in a shared emotional field. Universities began offering specialized certifications, and the Tesla Foundation partnered with leading psychology institutions to develop curricula. One memorable case was that of a veteran named Marcus who had struggled for years with the invisible wounds of war. Through resonance sessions with fellow veterans and trained facilitators, Marcus was able to share traumatic memories in a supportive, nonverbal way. The collective empathy he experienced helped dissolve his isolation and stigma, leading to renewed purpose and community engagement. Stories like Marcus's highlighted resonance's power to transform pain into healing. Yet, not all stories were positive. In some communities, resistance to resonance technology hardened, fueled by cultural skepticism or fears of intrusion. In rural Appalachia, a local activist group staged protests against the installation of resonance hubs, citing concerns about privacy, spiritual integrity, and corporate overreach. Elon recognized the importance of listening to dissenting voices. He personally visited the region, engaging in open forums and listening sessions to understand the roots of mistrust. He acknowledged mistakes in rollout strategies and committed to greater transparency, community involvement, and respect for local values. These experiences reinforced the lesson that technological progress must be paired with humility and dialogue. As QuantumLink's reach expanded, Elon and his team also explored its potential in environmental stewardship. Shared resonance sessions connected scientists, activists, and indigenous communities, fostering collaborative efforts to address climate change, conservation, and sustainable living. These sessions helped align diverse perspectives, deepen empathy for affected ecosystems, and generate collective strategies. Elon launched the Earth Resonance Project, an initiative leveraging quantum link to create global emotional attunement to environmental crises, inspiring coordinated action. The project's early pilots showed promising engagement, with participants reporting increased motivation to adopt eco-friendly behaviors and support policy reforms. Meanwhile, in the realm of education, resonance transformed classroom dynamics. Teachers reported that students connected not only with peers but with teachers in new ways, facilitating more responsive and compassionate learning environments. A pilot program in Chicago integrated resonance sessions into conflict resolution and social-emotional learning curricula, reducing disciplinary incidents and fostering inclusivity. The feedback loop between emotional attunement and academic engagement was a breakthrough in pedagogy. On the technological front, Elon's engineers pushed the boundaries of quantum link's capabilities. New developments included the integration of AI assistants capable of moderating resonance fields to maintain emotional balance and facilitate communication across language and cultural barriers. These AI moderators helped participants interpret complex emotional signals and mediated potential conflicts within the shared emotional spaces. Elon was fascinated but cautious about the expanding role of AI, emphasizing that machines must augment human empathy without replacing it. During this period, Elon also grappled with the challenge of scaling resonance safely. The original neurocrowns required precise fitting and frequent calibration, limiting mass adoption. In response, Tesla engineers unveiled the Neuroband, a lightweight, adaptive headband that offered a simplified but effective resonance experience. The Neuroband used advanced sensors and machine learning to customize sessions and minimize resonance fatigue. Its affordability and ease of use accelerated global dissemination, particularly in developing regions. As quantum link technology became more widespread, new social phenomena emerged. Resonance communities, formed online and offline, groups bonded by shared emotional experiences rather than geography. These communities fostered new forms of social organization, collaboration, and activism. In one example, a global network of educators used resonance to co-create inclusive curricula, blending diverse cultural narratives and teaching styles. However, this rise in collective consciousness also raised existential questions. Some philosophers and spiritual leaders wondered if humanity was approaching a post-individual era, where the notion of self might evolve toward a collective identity. Elon engaged with these ideas through conversations with thinkers like Dr. Maya Solis, a philosopher of mind, and Ayana, a spiritual guide. These dialogues deepened his appreciation for the interplay between technology and human evolution. On the other hand, critics warned of potential abuses. Could governments or corporations use resonance to subtly influence populations? What safeguards were in place to prevent emotional coercion? Elon took these concerns seriously. He advocated for transparent governance, robust legal protections, and independent oversight to prevent exploitation. The harmonic covenants principles were updated to address emerging risks. In the political arena, resonance technology began to influence discourse and diplomacy. International summits incorporated resonance sessions to facilitate empathy between conflicting parties. In one historic negotiation between two rival nations, shared resonance sessions helped break decades-old impasses by fostering genuine emotional understanding. Although not a panacea, these breakthroughs demonstrated resonance's potential as a tool for peacebuilding. As the narrative unfolded, Elon's public persona evolved. The media portrayed him less as a brash innovator and more as a philosopher-leader, someone wrestling with profound questions about technology, humanity, and ethics. His speeches took on a reflective tone, emphasizing humility, responsibility, and collective care. He often closed talks with the reminder, "We're not building technology for its own sake, we're building bridges for the human spirit." Behind the scenes, Elon invested in mentorship programs for young innovators and community leaders, encouraging the next generation to embrace empathy-driven technology development. As the technology penetrated social and professional spheres, it revolutionized how humans interacted not only emotionally but also intellectually and culturally. Traditional language barriers began to dissolve as resonance technology integrated advanced AI translators that operated on emotional as well as linguistic levels, creating a new dimension of understanding between people from diverse backgrounds. In cities like New York, Tokyo, and Paris, international collaborative teams used resonance-enhanced meetings to resolve misunderstandings that had historically caused friction. Elon's vision of a global empathy network gained tangible form as people reported feelings of unity transcending borders. This breakthrough came during a pivotal time when political polarization and social fragmentation were intensifying worldwide. The resonance experience revealed a shared humanity beneath ideological divides, inspiring grassroots movements centered on dialogue and reconciliation. Yet, challenges remained. Not every user adapted easily to the emotional transparency the technology demanded. In corporate settings, some executives found the intimate nature of resonance sessions disruptive to traditional power dynamics. For instance, during a multinational board meeting, a CEO's attempt to suppress uncomfortable emotions backfired as colleagues detected and called out the tension, leading to a candid but difficult conversation that reshaped company culture. Elon recognized these growing pains as part of the technology's evolution. He emphasized the importance of patience and education to cultivate emotional resilience and maturity. To that end, the Tesla Foundation expanded training programs, offering workshops not just on technical use but on the social skills necessary for thriving in a resonance-enabled world. A particularly powerful example of resonance's societal impact emerged from a pilot program in Detroit, where community leaders and youth groups utilized the technology to address long-standing issues of distrust and disenfranchisement. The resonance sessions helped participants share personal stories of hardship and hope, building empathy and identifying common goals. The initiative led to new community projects, including urban gardens and mentorship networks, demonstrating that resonance could be a catalyst for social regeneration. Elon saw this as evidence that technology could serve as a foundation for rebuilding fractured communities when paired with genuine human effort. On the scientific front, research into the neurological effects of resonance sessions advanced rapidly. Neuroscientists observed that participants exhibited increased activity in brain regions associated with empathy, compassion, and social cognition. Moreover, longitudinal studies suggested potential benefits for cognitive flexibility and emotional regulation. These findings fueled optimism about resonance as a therapeutic tool beyond mental health, possibly aiding in education, conflict resolution, and aging populations. Elon invested heavily in interdisciplinary research, fostering collaborations among neurologists, psychologists, anthropologists, and technologists. One intriguing study involved children with autism spectrum disorder, who often face challenges with social communication. Early results indicated that controlled resonance sessions help some children better interpret social cues and reduce anxiety. This opened new avenues for personalized therapies that combine technology with traditional care. However, the ethical landscape surrounding children's use of resonance technology was complex. Parents, educators, and child advocates debated questions of consent, developmental impact, and privacy. The Tesla Foundation worked closely with regulatory bodies to develop age-appropriate guidelines, ensuring protection without stifling potential benefits. Meanwhile, Elon continued to explore ways to make resonance more accessible and less intrusive. Engineers developed resonance pods, private, soundproof booths equipped with advanced neurointerfaces allowing users to enter controlled resonance fields in public spaces like libraries, airports, and hospitals. These pods aim to democratize access, offering moments of emotional connection and mental reset for busy urban populations. Public reception was enthusiastic, though skeptics remained wary of potential overdependence or commercial exploitation. In the realm of arts and culture, resonance technology inspired new forms of expression. Virtual galleries hosted resonance-enhanced exhibits where visitors could not only see but feel the artist's emotional intent. Musicians composed pieces designed to synchronize listener resonance fields, creating immersive, transformative experiences. Elon championed these developments as proof that technology could amplify the richness of human creativity rather than diminish it. Among the most moving stories was that of a poet named Lily, who used resonance sessions to overcome writer's block and connect deeply with her audience. Her live readings, enhanced by resonance transmission, became communal experiences of shared emotion, sparking a resurgence in spoken word performance art. As resonance networks grew, questions about data privacy and security intensified. Unlike traditional data, emotional resonance was deeply personal, raising concerns about misuse, unauthorized access, and emotional exploitation. The Tesla Foundation responded by pioneering emotional encryption technologies, which secured resonance data with multi-layered protections including biometric authentication and decentralized blockchain ledgers. Elon also advocated for user ownership of emotional data, empowering individuals to control when and how their feelings were shared. This approach challenged conventional norms in the tech industry and provoked debate, but it underscored a commitment to respecting individual autonomy in an age of intimate connectivity. Politically, resonance technology began influencing governance and diplomacy in profound ways. Several governments adopted resonance-enhanced citizen forums, enabling constituents to share authentic emotional feedback on policies in real time. This shifted democratic participation from abstract polling to visceral, empathetic engagement. In international diplomacy, resonance sessions facilitated dialogue between historically antagonistic nations, helping negotiators move beyond rhetoric to experience the emotional realities of their counterparts. Elon viewed these developments with cautious optimism, recognizing that technology alone could not resolve deep-seated conflicts but might serve as a powerful tool for humanizing adversaries and fostering peace. The widespread adoption of resonance technology also sparked cultural shifts in notions of privacy, identity, and community. Some individuals embraced open resonance lifestyles, sharing emotions broadly as a form of radical honesty and connection. Others preferred closed resonance modes, limiting their emotional exposure to trusted circles. The Tesla Foundation supported customizable privacy settings, recognizing that personal boundaries were essential for healthy engagement. These shifts influenced social norms, prompting new etiquette around emotional sharing and communication. Elon often reflected publicly on the tension between connectivity and solitude, reminding users that true connection requires space as well as closeness. As the resonance revolution advanced, it attracted a diverse ecosystem of innovators, from neuroscientists and artists to activists and entrepreneurs. This diversity enriched the technology's evolution but also introduced competing visions and priorities. Elon facilitated regular global forums and hackathons, fostering collaboration and dialogue among stakeholders. He emphasized the value of inclusivity and humility, warning against technocratic arrogance and encouraging respectful exchange. One memorable event was the Resonance Futures Summit, which convened 1,000 participants from around the world to explore ethical dilemmas, emerging applications, and societal impacts. The summit culminated in the Declaration of Resonant Humanity, a manifesto affirming shared values of empathy, respect, and stewardship in the age of emotional technology. Behind the scenes, Elon remained intensely involved in day-to-day problem-solving and innovation. His leadership style combined visionary thinking with hands-on engagement. He challenged engineers to push boundaries while reminding them of the technology's human roots. He cultivated a culture of empathy within his teams, encouraging open dialogue and emotional support. Colleagues described him as both demanding and deeply caring, a leader wrestling with the weight of shaping a technology that touched the very core of human experience. Despite immense pressures, Elon maintained a daily routine that included meditation, exercise, and private resonance sessions to center himself. He often shared with close friends that these moments helped him stay grounded amid the swirling currents of innovation, public scrutiny, and ethical complexity. In a rare interview, Elon revealed that he sometimes grappled with feelings of isolation, a paradox given his technology's promise of connection. He likened it to the experience of a lighthouse keeper, illuminating the way for others while standing apart on a distant shore. Yet, this solitude also fueled his determination to use resonance technology to bridge divides and build genuine community. As the technology's influence spread across industries, governments, and societies, questions about who controls resonance networks became unavoidable. Elon found himself at the center of these debates, navigating a labyrinth of interests ranging from corporate competitors and regulatory agencies to activists and everyday users. The stakes were high. Misuse or concentration of control over emotional data could threaten personal freedoms and societal cohesion. To address these concerns, Elon championed decentralization as a core principle of quantum links architecture. Inspired by blockchain technology and peer-to-peer networks, Tesla engineers designed a distributed resonance platform that prevented any single entity from monopolizing emotional data or resonance channels. Instead, control was shared among users and communities, who collectively governed access and standards. This approach fostered transparency, accountability, and resilience against censorship or abuse. However, implementing decentralization was a monumental technical and social challenge. Coordinating millions of nodes, ensuring secure encryption, and maintaining seamless user experience required continuous innovation and collaboration. Elon hosted global resonance hackathons to crowdsource solutions, attracting top cryptographers, developers, and activists. The energy and creativity of these events fueled breakthroughs that strengthened the network's integrity while expanding its possibilities. Despite these efforts, skeptics remained vigilant. Privacy advocates warned of subtle forms of emotional surveillance, government watchdogs questioned potential misuse in national security contexts, and cultural critics debated the implications for individual identity and autonomy. Elon engaged openly with critics, hosting public forums and inviting diverse voices into policymaking. He emphasized that technology must serve people's dignity and freedom, not undermine them. In this spirit, the Tesla Foundation launched the Resonance Rights Initiative, a global campaign advocating for legal protections ensuring informed consent, data sovereignty, and ethical use of emotional technology. The initiative collaborated with international bodies such as the United Nations and the World Economic Forum, embedding resonance rights into emerging frameworks of digital human rights. While these policy efforts unfolded, Elon's team focused on enhancing user empowerment features within QuantumLink. One breakthrough was the Emotional Firewall, a customizable interface allowing users to filter, block, or modulate incoming emotional signals, preserving mental well-being and boundary setting. This innovation responded to early reports of resonance fatigue and emotional overwhelm among heavy users. Another advancement was resonance journaling, a personal, secure space where individuals could reflect on their resonance experiences, track emotional patterns, and build self-awareness. These tools aim to balance openness with autonomy, nurturing a healthy relationship between technology and human emotion. On the societal front, resonance technology catalyzed new models of governance and participation. Some cities experimented with resonance councils, citizen assemblies that used shared emotional feedback to inform policy decisions and community planning. These councils fostered deeper empathy among participants, reducing polarization and enhancing cooperation. In one striking example, a resonance council in Amsterdam helped redesign public spaces by aligning urban planning with residents' collective emotional needs, leading to increased satisfaction and social cohesion. Inspired by such successes, Elon advocated for integrating resonance mechanisms into democratic systems worldwide, envisioning a future where governance was not only representative but also emotionally responsive. Meanwhile, resonance technology's integration into healthcare expanded with promising results. Hospitals incorporated resonance sessions into patient care, facilitating emotional support alongside physical treatment. This holistic approach improved outcomes in areas such as chronic pain management, palliative care, and rehabilitation. For example, a program at Johns Hopkins Hospital combined resonance therapy with physical therapy for stroke patients, accelerating recovery by enhancing motivation and emotional resilience. Elon invested in partnerships with medical institutions to standardize best practices and expand access, especially in underserved communities. Education continued to evolve alongside resonance's expansion. Schools adopted resonance learning labs, immersive environments where students could engage with content emotionally as well as intellectually. This approach transformed subjects like history, literature, and science into embodied experiences, fostering deeper understanding and retention. Teachers reported heightened student engagement and empathy, while students expressed greater curiosity and connection to learning material. Yet, educators also faced challenges adapting curricula and assessment methods to this new paradigm. Elon supported ongoing research and training to equip teachers with the skills and resources needed to thrive in resonance-enhanced classrooms. The arts flourished with new creative forms emerging from resonance technology. Musicians, visual artists, and performers collaborated with technologists to craft multisensory experiences that integrated sight, sound, and emotional resonance. Festivals showcasing these works attracted global audiences, blurring boundaries between creator and spectator. Elon often attended such events, marveling at how technology could amplify human expression. One standout artist, Maya, used resonance to create immersive installations exploring collective memory and identity, inviting participants to contribute their emotions to evolving works. These projects sparked conversations about the interplay between individuality and community in a resonant world. However, as resonance permeated everyday life, ethical quandaries deepened. The potential for emotional manipulation, addiction, and exploitation surfaced in unsettling ways. A scandal erupted when a popular social media platform integrated unregulated resonance features, leading to user burnout and emotional distress. Elon condemned these practices, reaffirming Tesla's commitment to ethical standards and user well-being. In response, the Harmonic Council strengthened oversight mechanisms and promoted digital literacy programs to help users navigate resonance technology safely. Elon personally spearheaded a campaign emphasizing emotional digital hygiene, encouraging users to set boundaries, practice self-care, and engage critically with technology. His message resonated widely, inspiring a cultural shift toward mindful technology use. The global resonance ecosystem also witnessed economic transformation. New industries emerged around emotional data services, resonance-enabled products, and consulting. Startups offered personalized emotional coaching, immersive entertainment, and resonance-enhanced wellness. Elon encouraged entrepreneurship while cautioning against commodification of human emotion. He advocated for business models prioritizing social impact alongside profit, embodying the Tesla Foundation's mission. As the resonance revolution matured, Elon grappled with personal and philosophical reflections. He pondered the paradox of creating technology that connected humanity deeply while sometimes amplifying human vulnerabilities and conflicts. He questioned what it meant to be human in a world where emotional boundaries were porous and collective consciousness was expanding. These introspections found expression in his speeches, writings, and private conversations. He often spoke about the need for compassion, humility, and courage in navigating the unknown terrain of emotional technology. Amid these contemplations, Elon maintained close relationships with a circle of trusted friends, mentors, and family. His sister Tosca remained a vital source of support and grounding, their bond strengthened by shared resonance experiences. They collaborated on philanthropic initiatives focusing on youth empowerment and mental health. Elon's romantic life, once marked by distance and distraction, showed signs of renewal through openness and vulnerability fostered by resonance. As users grew accustomed to sharing emotions with unprecedented transparency, traditional social norms evolved rapidly. The concept of privacy shifted. What was once considered intensely private now became selectively shared, curated, or collectively experienced. Families, for instance, began using resonance technology to strengthen bonds. Parents who struggled to understand their teenagers found resonance sessions revealing hidden fears and hopes, fostering empathy and dialogue that healed rifts. Grandparents connected more deeply with grandchildren despite geographic distance, sharing feelings and memories as vividly as if they were together. Yet, this emotional closeness also introduced new tensions. Some individuals felt overwhelmed or exposed, leading to new forms of boundary setting and selective resonance engagement. Elon recognized that healthy emotional ecosystems required balance between openness and protection. This realization inspired ongoing development of user tools that allowed granular control over resonance access, timing, and intensity. Meanwhile, romantic relationships underwent profound changes. Couples used resonance technology to deepen intimacy and resolve conflicts by accessing underlying emotions often masked by words. Therapists incorporated resonance into couples counseling with remarkable results, revealing unspoken needs and fears and fostering greater understanding. However, the technology also exposed vulnerabilities, prompting ethical discussions about consent and emotional safety. Some feared that constant emotional transparency might erode mystery and autonomy essential to romantic attraction. Elon addressed these concerns by advocating for respect, patience, and consent as foundational principles. Social groups and friendships flourished in new forms as resonance networks enabled shared emotional experiences over distance and difference. Support communities for mental health, chronic illness, and social causes harnessed resonance to create solidarity and resilience. One notable example was a global group of climate activists who used resonance sessions to sustain morale and coordinate action despite physical separation. Resonance-enabled virtual gatherings created spaces where participants felt seen and supported in ways text or video alone could not replicate. These developments contributed to a broader reimagining of community, emphasizing emotional connection alongside shared interests or geography. Yet, as resonance blurred boundaries between public and private emotions, society grappled with evolving norms and etiquettes. Schools, workplaces, and public spaces experimented with guidelines to balance authenticity with respect. Debates arose over acceptable emotional disclosures and the potential for emotional coercion or performance. Elon engaged sociologists, ethicists, and users in ongoing dialogues to shape inclusive, adaptive social frameworks. Economically, resonance technology stimulated new markets and disrupted existing industries. Personalized emotional services, from coaching and therapy to entertainment and retail, expanded rapidly. Businesses integrated resonance data to tailor customer experiences, raising questions about emotional commodification and user consent. Elon promoted transparent, user-centric models that prioritized well-being and choice. The Tesla Foundation supported research into sustainable business practices aligned with social good. On a cultural level, resonance technology sparked renewed interest in emotional literacy and mental health. Schools incorporated emotional education alongside traditional subjects, recognizing that resonance's potential depended on users' emotional skills and resilience. Public campaigns destigmatized mental health challenges and encouraged open dialogue. Artists, writers, and performers explored themes of emotion, identity, and technology in innovative ways, enriching cultural discourse. Elon frequently highlighted that technology alone was insufficient without human wisdom and compassion. In the political arena, resonance reshaped activism and governance. Grassroots movements used resonance sessions to build unity and strategic clarity. Politicians experimented with resonance town halls to connect authentically with constituents. Some governments piloted emotional analytics to gauge public mood and policy impact in real time. While promising, these applications also raised concerns about surveillance and manipulation. Elon advocated for safeguards and democratic oversight, underscoring the need for transparency and accountability. At a personal level, Elon continued to reflect on the transformative power of resonance in his own life. He described moments of profound connection and insight gained through resonance sessions with family, friends, and colleagues. These experiences deepened his commitment to fostering technology that honored human dignity and complexity. Yet, he also acknowledged ongoing challenges, balancing openness with privacy, innovation with ethics, and ambition with humility. Elon's journey mirrored the broader human journey through the resonance revolution, a path of discovery, adaptation, and hope. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?